All right, folks, we're connecting. Just want to make sure our Facebook, X, and YouTube connections are good. Facebook is good and live. We're waiting for YouTube. X is connected and streaming, and it looks like there we go. So we got X, YouTube, and Facebook all connected. So, folks, hey, Gene Galin here with the Chatham Journal. I got Asheebo Rojas of the Chatham News and Record, and it's our weekly ChathamNC Sports Roundup. As always, thanks so much for watching. We had close to 4,000 views this past week. We're hovering around that 4,000 view mark. So thank you so much for all of you who are watching on a regular basis. We're here every Thursday at noontime, unless we run into a glitch, which we sometimes will push off till Friday. So there's your agenda. We're going to be talking about Chatham County football. We'll talk about what games are coming up tomorrow night, the power rankings as Asheebo sees them. I'll agree or disagree with him. I think I'll agree with him. Then we'll talk about high school volleyball. That's coming close to an end of regular season. Soccer. Asheebo will talk about the big game yesterday. Girls flag football, golf, tennis, and track and field updates. And then, of course, we'll get into the stories that are in this week's Chatham News and Record. That comes out every Thursday, so make sure you pick up the print version. And, of course, everybody's favorite, Asheebo's Athlete of the Week. So that's all coming up in this discussion today. If you're following us on Facebook, feel free to make a comment or copy to somebody else. And I do try to follow or see our Facebook feed. So let me quit yik-yakking and let me get Asheebo on here so we can get into what you all are waiting to hear about. All right, Asheebo, let's start off with high school football here in Chatham County. Last week there was only one game, and that was Jordan Matthews, and you and I were both there. But why don't you give folks a rundown of what happened in Siler City last Friday?
Yeah, so Jordan Matthews playing against American Leadership Academy Johnston and lost that one 41-6. So back-to-back tough loss for the Jets there after hosting the Patriots on homecoming. And this one started off in the Patriots' favor from the jump. We had the kickoff return to start the game from American Leadership's Kamari Smallwood, 83 yards to the house. So they were already up 7-0, 17 seconds into it. And it was just a struggle for Jordan Matthews to score on this one. Once again, they were missing their starting center, Manny Perez, in this one. Also receiver Nolan Mitchell. So you can see where the offense, we're missing those guys, especially up on the offensive line. Kamari Hadley, quarterback for Jordan Matthews, once again, didn't have a lot of time to really make things happen as a passer. And Jakari Blue didn't have as many of those gaps to get through as a runner. So American Leadership piled this one on early and took a 21-0 lead, in the first half, and pretty much put this one away early on. So Jordan Matthews was a game where, talking to Coach Kermit Carter afterward, he said this wasn't us. And I think he felt that his team kind of gave up a little bit, especially in that second half. And we talked a little bit about the first half, right, with American Leadership getting the kick return. And they had a pick six on the next possession to go up 14-0. So two of those touchdowns weren't even, on the Jordan Matthews defense. So, but I think Jordan Matthews just got down. Talking to Coach Carter, he felt like his team just couldn't get out of that funk of hey, we're still in this. The first two touchdowns were not defensive touchdowns, and they just couldn't bounce back from that first half. And so, yeah, they have a 2-game losing streak now. I think 4-2 on the season, going into week 7, and we'll see if they can bounce back as the conference play starts this Friday.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised. You and I both felt that it was going to be a close game, and I think your forecast, your prediction was that they would win that game, and I think you're totally right. They kind of got kicked in the teeth right to begin with, and then it was hard for them to recover. I didn't think there was going to land up as big of a score differential as it turned out to be. So I also want to let folks know it was homecoming. We did get homecoming video, and that's up on the YouTube channel. So if you need to, you can check that out. And it turned out to be nice weather. I'm glad it didn't rain so that the homecoming court folks, especially the folks wearing heels, did not sink into the turf out there. All right, we got 4 games coming up tomorrow. So, do you want to start off? Why don't we start off from east and land up to west because 2 of the games are being played at home and then 2 of them are being played away. Let's start off with the home games: Seaforth versus Orange.
Yeah, so Seaforth and Orange, like we said, first conference game here in the Big 7 4A5A conference for Seaforth. Orange 0-5 coming into this one. Seaforth 1-4. They're both coming off byes, and so both teams should be fresh or fresh legs. Everybody ready to go for the second half of the season. And I'm looking at Orange. Did some research on them. A very young roster, like really young. A lot of freshmen and sophomores playing some big time roles on this team. And of course, that's shown in the season. They've given up 34 points in all 5 of their games, while having yet themselves to score more than 22 in these games. So they're a run-heavy team. They play some tough competition during the season: Southeast Alamance, Williams, Hillside Durham, and all their teams have come to losses with winning records. So they played some good teams and probably had to learn to take those bumps with the young roster they've had as they've gone. So coming into the Seaforth game, first conference game of the year, I think for Seaforth's on Seaforth's side, this is a really good chance to get back on the right track. I think they finally found something in that Northwood game and then got let down the week after at Northmore, and now it's trying to, I guess, get that consistency of what they saw in that Northwood game to get them to play at that level most of the time here. And I think against Orange, against a team like this at home, they have a really good opportunity to come out, get a big win, and see if they can really ignite some fire in their offense, especially the run game, which has been struggling this year. And think if they can get there and establish a run here, that'll open up a lot of things for their offense going forward, especially, conference play. You guys want to compete for a conference championship as well as build up that RPI for the playoffs.
And what's your prediction for the score on this game? Because it's Seaforth that I think is 1-4 versus Orange, which is 0-5, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so I got Seaforth winning pretty comfortably in this one, 28-12. Like I said, I think that young roster, I think Seaforth's roster might be too much for Orange's young team. And I think in this one, Seaforth's talent should show in this game as long as they don't turn the ball over. And also as long as they start fast. I think that's the thing with Seaforth is they've fallen behind in some of these games and have to play from behind. And you'll see they'll play better in the second half, maybe this third quarter or late in the second quarter trying to play from behind and get back in it, but it'll be too late at that point. So I think if they get ahead in this one, start fast, they should ride this one out to a victory.
Yeah, and we talked about this yesterday. You're planning to be at that game on Friday night. Is that correct?
Yes, I'll be at Seaforth tomorrow night.
All right, that game's slated to start at 7, and while that's happening in Pittsburgh, also in Pittsburgh, we got Northwood going up against East Randolph. I don't think you have the home team winning on this. Why don't you give the people the lowdown as to the Northwood, which I think is they've got a losing record versus East Randolph. It's got a winning record.
Yeah, Northwood 1-4 coming in this one. 4A, Four Rivers 3A, 4A conference opener for both of these teams, and you got Eastern Randolph at 4-2. So yeah, starting the conference slate with a team like Eastern Randolph, pretty tough draw for Northwood. Something they're not used to though. I mean, something they're not used to. They're used to playing tough teams like this season with the schedule that Dalton had them go through early on this year. But Eastern Randolph, we know, really great program over the years. Once again, a pretty good team this year. They're led by, of course, a quarterback, Cade McCollum, running back Kobe Walker, and receiver Caden Ravel. Those guys pretty much have made up most of the production of their offense this year. And they're coming off a 34-6 win over West Stanley last Friday. So played pretty well as of recently. And we saw, I think, the week before, they played a pretty close game with Asheboro, who put a beating on Northwood earlier this year. So they've competed with some pretty good teams. They've beaten some good teams. And like we said, they are a good team themselves. So I think, of course, limiting those 3 guys that I mentioned for Eastern Randolph will be key for Northwood in this game. I think right now Northwood's strength is their defense and special teams, considering what they lost on offense with Robert Tripp still going to be out, and the limitations they have in their past games. So I think, I'm looking at this game. I'm looking at guys like Rajay Torres, in the special teams game. His ability to flip the field will be huge. They can start with some good field position and put together some pretty good runs between Leo Mortimer and Grayson Cox. I think that will give them the best chance to compete and possibly win this game. But like we said, I think Eastern Randolph is just going to be a little too much for Northwood tomorrow night. And I think Eastern Randolph wins this one 41-12.
Yeah, I'm definitely agreeing with you on that one. I think, again, Northwood's got some good players. The only problem is they don't have enough bodies. And as you mentioned, Robert, I think, is going to be out, if not the entire season, pretty much close to the entire season. All right, let's move over to the West. Actually, these games are not being played in Chatham County. Let's go with Jordan Matthews at Northmore. What's your rundown on that?
Yeah, so familiar matchup between these two teams. Of course, they used to be in the Mid Carolina 1A, 2A conference with all the county teams and some of the surrounding schools in the area. But yeah, Jordan Matthews and Northmore. We've seen Northmore a couple times play against Chatham teams this year. And once again, that offense they have, they're an older team with more experience. And their offense with how heavy it is with the run and how physical it is pretty hard to stop. And with Jordan Matthews, I think this game here for Jordan Matthews would be determined once again in the trenches, like a lot of their games this season. And of course, last 2 weeks they've struggled with that and being able to stop the run. I think Northmore is going to have a good game offensively in this one, and then offensively, I mean, like we said, it's possible that you might not have your starting center again. And if you don't have Nolan Mitchell again, that would be another hit to the offense. So I think the biggest thing for Jordan Matthews that we've seen the past 2 weeks is they just have to find a way to protect Hadley, because when they do, he's able to get the ball down the field. He's got other guys like Lennox Mordecai. Jaden Fisher also likely be out, possibly be out. I'm not sure. He suffered a pretty significant injury last week as well. But he's got other guys too, Namir Wiley as well, that can catch the ball down the field. So as long as they protect him, they might could get some big games in the passing game in this one. And seeing if they can get Chikari Blue going after these last 2 weeks has been a struggle for him. So I think just establishing the run and protecting the quarterback, which all starts with that offensive line, I think will be pretty key for Jordan Matthews in this one. And then, of course, we're always with Northmore. You got to watch your keys defensively and see where the ball is going and be physical to the point of attack. And but once again, I think Northmore, they've shown that still a pretty good team, still a threat here in this conference. And I think Northmore does pull this one out on their home field, 34-14.
So you think it's going to be a 20-point game to Northmore's advantage?
Yeah, and I think with Jordan Matthews is they're definitely better than what they've been the past few years. But and I'm sure Coach Kermit Carter, we talked and he shares the same sentiment. I mean, the guys, of course, they haven't played the best competition early on, but they have to see that now that the competition is getting tougher. They might not be as good as they thought they were early on, and they just have to fight through the adversity that they've been faced with these past 2 weeks. Something they're still looking for, still trying to do, which they haven't really shown, like we said, in those last 2 games, where they get down early. Even if they're still in the game at halftime, they just can't get it going to pull off a comeback. So, but also too, Northmore, I think Northmore is a little better than what I expected them to be coming into the season, and they've shown that.
Well, I think I kind of agree with you. Northmore being able to pull it off. I don't know if they're going to pull it off by 20 points, but then I may be wrong, because I was surprised by the level of points between of the last JM game. I didn't think they were going to lose by
and
that.
They were up big on C4 too a couple weeks ago, Northmore. So, yeah, I mean, I think their team has something this year.
All right. Then let's talk about Chatham Central. They're at College Preparatory and Leadership Academy. I mean, that's too long of a name for a school. Let's just call it CPL or whatever. What's your rundown on Chatham Central? Because their records are very close.
Yeah, Chatham Central 1-4, College Prep and Leadership 0-5. So this is the second game in conference play for Chatham Central. They lost the first one last week over. I mean, well, the last time they played over North Stoke. So college prep and leadership. Just looking at their recent games, they fell big to South Davidson last week, 49-8. This season, the offense has struggled for them. They haven't scored more than 18 points in the game, and they've also given up over 40 points in each game. So I think looking at their defense as well, stopping the run has been an issue for college prep and leadership. 370 yards on the ground to South Davidson in the game prior. So I'm looking at Chatham Central, and I think same thing with Seaford, right? You're playing against a team that struggled this year, and you need a good opportunity to get a big win, especially in the conference. I think this is another one of those games for Chatham Central, especially with the way they've played against conference teams and some of the teams out of their conference, right? Close games this year. 3 games this year decided by one possession, 2 games decided by less than 3 points. So they've been there to pick up a lot of wins this year. And I think this time around, I think if they come out, they establish a run game, of course, with Brooks Albright, what he can do in his legs, and Tyler Congrove, the speedy back. I think they'll fare out pretty well tomorrow night. And like we said, in those games, I mean, they've been up on teams, East Columbus, North Stokes. They've been up late in those games. They just have to finish. And with this one, that's the key is can we play that same level of football that we've shown in the first half, maybe the first quarter, and keep that going into the fourth quarter, which I know will be tough with this team being smaller and kids playing both ways and having to stay on the field for a long period of time. But like we said, they've been right there, just a couple plays here and there from a couple wins this season. I think they do get it done tomorrow night, and I think they win this one 26-20.
That sounds about right. And yeah, I think the things with both, Chatham Central, JM, and Northwood, they've got good players. The only thing is they don't have enough players. And that's where, towards the end of the game, they kind of land up being short. I mean, we're going to talk about this next Thursday, but I think the big game for next Friday that's coming up is going to be JM at Northwood. So we're going to see how that game turns out. But you need to stay tuned next Thursday at noontime. Asheebo will go into depth on that one as well. All right, let's talk about power rankings. Was there any change in the power rankings, your power rankings from last week?
No, they weren't. We had all bye weeks last week, except for Jordan Matthews. So Jordan Matthews still holds the top spot, and we'll see. I think we might have some shakeups this week. We'll have to see what happens. Of course, like you said, we'll definitely have a shakeup next week when Northwood and Jordan Matthews battle it out. But yep, we got the same power rankings with Jordan Matthews at 1, Seaforth at 2, Northwood at 3, and Chatham Central at 4.
Yeah, that's what happens when you have a bye week, and the previous week, all 4 of the Chatham County high schools lost. All right, so that takes care of power rankings. Let's talk about volleyball. There's a bunch going on in volleyball. I don't know why, but the Seaforth volleyball game on Monday got canceled. I think they were supposed to play Union Pines, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And look, somebody may explain to me, was there a hole in the roof? Was there leakage or what? I'm not sure why a rain delay might have. And I may be totally off. This does not reflect on Asheebo. It's just me wondering what the heck happened that we couldn't have a volleyball game on a Monday at Seaforth. All right, let's talk about, let me quit rambling and let's talk about volleyball, including, what is it? Which charter won again last night? But give folks the quick rundown of what's going on in the volleyball scene here in Chatham County.
Yeah, so the volleyball season's coming to an end. I think next week is the last week of the regular season, and then we'll have our conference tournaments to get our last few games out the way before the playoffs start later this month. But this week, Woods Charter, like you said, they won again last night and a few nights before. They beat Clever Garden 3-0 and Central Carolina Academy 3-0 as well. And after beating Clever Garden, that's their 14th straight win since August 18th. So the Wolves are rolling this season. And then we had staying in 1A, we had Chatham Charter beating Southern Wake 3-0 this week. And Chatham Central took a tough loss to Bishop McGinnis 3-0. Then we talked about them a couple of weeks ago, having a pretty good streak, I think 4 games in a row. But as of late, it's been a little bit more difficult, especially in conference play, and they lost 3 of their last 4. And then going to 3A with Northwood. We had Northwood and JM playing each other this week. Northwood won that one 3-1, and that snaps a 4-game skid for the Chargers. And in that one, Shay Layton led the way with 15 kills, while Emma Dorsey recorded 20 assists in that one. So Northwood's going to be playing against Northmore tonight. Seaforth, they're going to play one game this week tonight at JF Webb at 6 o'clock. And like we said, yeah, see, a lot of these volleyball teams only have 2 or 3 games left in the season. And because of that, I do have some of the RPI rankings ready to go right here, just to give you an idea what the playoff picture kind of looks like right now as the season is getting ready to come to a close. So looking at 1A, we have Woods Charter, second place in RPI standings with RPI 0.66576. So great positioning for them as they try to push for a deep playoff run in 1A. And then Chatham Charter, second there in the county with 25th ranked RPI 0.45772. And then Chatham Central is a little bit below them at 30th with an RPI 0.41108. And so, yeah, I mean, all 3 of the 1A teams look like they're going to be in a playoff position this year. So we'll just have to see how that finishes out as the season ends in a couple of weeks. And then going to 3A, we have Northwood just still hanging on in the playoff picture at the 47th spot with RPI 0.39030. And 4A, Jordan Matthews also too still just barely hanging on there at the 46th spot with an RPI of 0.37091. And then in 5A, Seaforth is the 11th ranked team in RPI right now with a score of 0.60619. So all of our teams right now, like you said, are in playoff position for volleyball, and we'll see how it all fizzles out once the season ends. And like we said, we'll see who makes the long runs in the playoff. Like I said, I'm looking at Woods Charter and possibly Seaforth because Seaforth, they got Ali Forrest back. She's been back for a couple weeks now. And of course, they got the other big hitter, Naomi Stevenson, the versatile player, and Josie Valgas. This is still a really good roster at Seaforth, and it'll be interesting to see if they can make some noise in 5A as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, when you and I have talked with Coach Amanda Ghosh over at Woods Charter, she's mentioned several times that their goal was to get into the tournament as a high seed and make a run for the championship game. I think that looks good. We'll see what happens with Seaforth. As you said, Allie's back, so hopefully that will give them a little bit more oomph. All right, unofficial power rankings for volleyball. What you got?
Yeah, I mean, so far I'll put Seaforth still over Woods. I think the competition they've played. I mean, they played some of the best teams in the state. Puts them just a little bit over Woods Charter here. Even though Woods Charter, like we said, is still very very talented in their own respect. And so I'll go Seaforth 1, Woods 2. At 3, I would put Chatham Charter and Chatham Charter at 4, Central 5, Northwood and 6, JM. I think Central and Charter are pretty close. Like I said, I like what Central has done in their conference this year, and they won a few pretty good games as well. And they have, like we said, athlete of the week last week, Addison Golson, pretty big hitter. That's been making a lot of big plays for them this season. So, yeah, that's just my unofficial feelings on what a power ranking would look like for volleyball.
Well, I would agree with you. I don't see I don't change anywhere. I mean, yeah, Woods is good, but they're not facing the same level of competition that Seaforth's facing now. As you and I have noted several times, Woods has a pretty young team. I think they only have 3 seniors, so they may even get better next year, and we'll see about that. A couple more weeks, and again, folks, Asheebo gave you a rundown of what the RPI looks like going into the state tournaments. Oh, let me ask you a question. Conference, if there's a conference tournament, do those games count towards or against you when you're talking about getting into the state tournament? Do you know?
If I remember before the changes, they didn't count towards RPI, so I don't think I don't think they do. I think it's all just
Okay.
regular season. like I said, this year conference like placement, conference finishes doesn't really matter as far as playoff positioning. It's just straight RPI this year. So I think playing for conference titles is just for a title this time.
All right. The other big sport going on, Asheebo and I were at a game last night. Asheebo, why don't you give folks the rundown on what's going on in high school soccer here in Chatham County?
Yeah, so we had a conference opener in the big Four Rivers 3A 4A conference between Jordan Matthews and Northwood. Jordan Matthews came out and won that one 4-1. They're up 2-0 at halftime, thanks to a early goal 3 minutes into the game from Manolo Soto Cruz on a free kick, giving it to Emmanuel Estrada, who headed it into the net. And then midway through the first half, Samuel Basilio got an assist from Enrique Granados to put the Jets up 2-0. And also, too, I think watching this game, and Gene, you might have missed it because you left at halftime, but got really physical in that second half. We had a lot of players going down with kicks to the legs. A lot of players, getting tripped and things like that. It got really competitive in that second half, especially as Northwood was trying to claw their way back. And so Jordan Matthews actually got a couple of penalty kick opportunities. Roberto Vargas got one and made it to put the Jets up 3-0 with 37 minutes left in the second half. And then later on in that game, Sam Batchelor from Northwood, he actually got a score from a loose ball. I think it was a free kick. The Jordan Matthews goalkeeper, he had it in his hands and he dropped it. And then right in front of the goal, of course, Sam kicked it in to make it 3-1. But Jordan Matthews already up 2 scores with about 25 minutes left at that point. Just had to hold Northwood off some more, and they got another penalty kick opportunity, and Enrique Granados put that one in to put the Jets up 4-1 at the end there. So I think Coach Paul Krajos really happy with how his team played last night. For them, that's another win where they limit another team's offense. I think they have 6 shutouts on the year and almost had 7 last night if it wasn't for that one mishap with the goalkeeper. But Jordan Matthews soccer off to a great start in the conference. I think there's still some good things to take away from this game for Northwood, though, and they were without their freshman striker Johnny Santiago, who's been really good for them this year. So he didn't play in this game, but there were times where the defense looked really good, especially with Danny. I can't remember his name. Danny, I can't remember his last name, but he did a lot of good things as far as coming back and knocking some balls away. And I think Jordan Matthews, looking at their win streaks here, that's 2 wins in a row for them. 2 out of their last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. So 8 out of their last 10 wins. Like we said, they had another period middle of the season where they just get things rolling and get some big wins over some teams. And now it's in conference. They know the competition is ramping up. They have Southwestern Randolph on Monday. So they're really trying to focus in and build on these wins to put out a good finish to the season.
Yeah, let me ask you this, because we're going to go into unofficial power rankings as well. But one of the things we were talking with the principal at JM was the fact that you and I, having seen Northwood play and Seaforth play, I think that it would have made for a good game to see JM play up against Seaforth. What are your feelings about Seaforth playing up against JM? Right.
Yeah, it would have been a good game. And just going off last year when those teams were in the same conference and playing each other, I think Seaforth was one of the teams in the conference that gave JM some of the most trouble. They did give them a close game. I think that first time they played at Jordan Matthews, if I remember. And so, Seaforth, when we watched them, those boys, they really fight hard in every game they play. And they even got a big win earlier this week, 9-0 over South Granville. So I think it would have been a good game. But Jordan Matthews, they have some very good technical development there. And as far as like the passing, it was really crisp last night. Guys just pretty much getting to their spots and getting the ball right where it needed to be for their teammates to make some plays. And also too, that leads to, like we said, drawing fouls, being able to get out of a position where you make a defender have to foul you to stop you. And that really helped Jordan Matthews last night. Even with I think the corner battle was pretty even. If Northwood didn't win the corner battle, because they did have some periods where Jordan Matthews did win it, but they did have some periods where Northwood was gaining momentum, and getting some pretty good looks. They just couldn't get him to go. So, and that's the thing with Northwood too. I talked with Coach Ascari Arias the week before about that. Was just they've been in a lot of games where they've had chances to win. I think they have 4 draws this year, which is kind of a lot. They had chances to win. They just can't finish their open looks to put the goals in. So, yeah, I mean, I think all the county teams with Jordan Matthews, Seaforth, Northwood, they would all compete very well with each other. Even with last night, like we said, it was 4-1. But to me, I felt like the game was pretty competitive, especially at the start, with Jordan Matthews even still kind of controlling the game a little bit, but Northwood still fighting and clawing to keep them out the net.
All right. Having said, you got the rundown from Asheebo. I'm going to shout out to Barry West over at JM. Let's make this happen next year, Coach. Let's get JM playing against Seaforth and Northwood in soccer. I think it's nice. My kids went through the rec league. They played sports in high school, and it's nice when county teams play against each other. All right. Unofficial power rankings for soccer.
Yeah, so right now I think I'll put Jordan Matthews at 1. I'll put Woods at 2, and Woods got a big win over River Mill this week, 3-0. They got 3 shutouts this year, and they're off to a pretty good start up in Chapel Hill. And then I would put Northwood at the 3 spot, Seaforth at 4, and Chatham Charter at 5. Like I said, I think Northwood and Seaforth pretty close, pretty even. Like we said, 2 ties this year between the 2 teams, and their 2 battles that were non-conference. So that's what I have unofficially. Chatham Charter actually got a win this week over Phoenix Academy 2-1, and then that one, Braylon Harris had 2 goals. So they're still trying to put some wins together. I think that's their second win of the year for the Knights. So that'll be my unofficial power rankings for soccer.
Again, have no disagreement with that. And as you mentioned, Woods Charter, it's nice to see Coach Stewart having a nice boys soccer team this year. Because as you folks are fully aware, Coach Stewart has taken the girls soccer team to the championship game several times in the last few seasons. So that wraps it up for soccer. What do we got next? Oh, girls flag football. What's going on in girls flag football here in the county?
Yeah, so I played the week 3 games last night. I do not have the scores for Jordan Matthews. So if anybody is watching with Jordan Matthews and have the scores for that, if you can please put them in the chat, that would be helpful. But I did get the scores for Northwood and Seaforth. So Northwood and Seaforth did play again, I think for the 3rd time this year. And Northwood won this one once again, 13-12. Southeast Alamance got the best of Northwood though, 9-6 in a close one, which is pretty impressive. I think looking at the scores and what Northwood has done the past 2 weeks, you can tell they're getting better because Southeast Alamance, that was a team that was really strong from the beginning. They were beating a lot of teams pretty badly early on. So that was nice to see a close game with them in Southeast. And then Eastern Alamance got the best of Seaforth yesterday as well, 18-14. And so that puts Northwood's record through 3 weeks at 4-2, and Seaforth I think is at 1-5 to start the season. And like I said, don't have Jordan Matthews yet. I've asked for it this morning and still haven't received it. But of course, we'll have the scores in the roundup and the records as well for the 3 county schools. I'll also try to see if I can get the scores and records for the rest of the teams with Southeast Alamance and Eastern Alamance so we can get a look at the whole league. And as flag football goes on, and should be some games coming up pretty soon, coming to Chatham County with Seaforth, Northwood, and JM hosting later on this season. So be on the lookout for that as well.
Yeah, I just checked the comments in our Facebook live stream. No one's provided any information on the JM game, but I just want to, some of the folks I saw names pop up, Tiffany, Cassandra, Annette, Kelly, Bryson, and Nick. There's probably more of you have watched, but that's what's popping up on the screen. I have no control over what Facebook shows me, but thank you so much for watching. All right, so we talked about flag football. Let's touch on what else. What's next on the agenda? I got to pull up my agenda here. I got so many screens open. Uh, oh yeah, golf and tennis. What's going on with golf and tennis?
Yeah, so tennis also nearing the end of its season. We had a couple more scores this week with Seaforth beating South Granville 8-1. Chatham Charter winning big over Cornerstone Charter 9-0 this week. And also too on flag football. Actually, I'm sorry, Seaforth did host those games last night. So Jordan Matthews and Northwood will be hosting pretty soon, and that will be with Northwood hosting October 15th and Jordan Matthews hosting October 22nd. But back on tennis. Yeah, also got some more RPI standings now with tennis having one more week, and then we'll have our conference tournaments for there. In the 1A level, Chatham Charter, fifth in their classification with an RPI of 0.51820, and this is for dual team tennis when the teams get together and play in the playoffs. And Chatham Central is the 14th team with RPI 0.21790. I believe all of the 1A teams are making the playoffs this year. I think it's only 14 to 15 teams in 1A. So I think both teams there will, of course, make the dual team tournament. And then 3A, Northwood is the 30th team with RPI 0.40409. That they're also in the playoff picture as well. And then 4A, Jordan Matthews is the 48th team. So holding on to that last spot in the dual team playoffs with the RPI 0.30300. And then 5A, Seaforth is the 17th team with an RPI of 0.56204. So, like I said, all the teams looking like they'll be competing in the dual team playoffs should these RPI standings hold up through the end of the season next week.
All right. Anything going on in track and field that folks need to be aware of?
Yeah, cross country. Like I said, conference meets are coming up. So we have the Big Seven conference championship meet on next week on Wednesday with Seaforth, of course, in that one. It's going to be at Forest Hills Park, hosted by Durham School of the Arts. And then we have Jordan Matthews. They hosted a meet yesterday. Haven't got the results yet, but I think they'll also be doing. That's not a championship meet. They'll be doing another meet with their conference pretty soon. Chatham Central in the Greater Triad Conference. They had a meet last night, and they'll have another conference meet on October 14th. That one might be the championship, I think, for Chatham Central. And then Central Tar Heel Conference meet had one last night. Still waiting for the results. So we'll have all the results and more information on cross country, more clear information on cross country in the roundup as well. Like I said, you guys know it's a lot with a lot of runners at one time. So got to try to condense it and see who had the best times and all that for the paper. But that's what's going on in cross country. Of course, a lot of fall sports are coming to the end of their regular seasons or just getting to the last stretch. So playoff talk will be on the mind in the next few weeks in these streams and in the paper as well, keeping up with RPI standings. And of course, maybe a couple playoff previews as we get started with some of the brackets this month.
All right. So before we get into what's in the paper, what Asheebo has in the Chatham News and Record that comes out today, if you need to go, pick one up, a hard copy of the paper. Two former Chatham County athletes. We got Jaron Stevenson, who's going to be playing in the blue and white game on Saturday, that basketball game. It's a free game. You can go and see it at the Dean Smith Center. That's going to start an hour after the football game concludes at noontime. I think Ludacris is playing at 10 a.m. So I'm sure the campus is going to be busy. And then, if I'm not mistaken, October 22nd, the Brooklyn Nets will be playing down in Charlotte, the Charlotte Hornets on the 22nd. I think Asheebo is going to be covering that one. I think I'm tied up that night. And I think the good news is, if I'm not mistaken, it looks like Drake is off of his injury and actually was practicing yesterday. Is that not right?
Yeah, there's been a lot of positive reports about Drake. They had their media days last week. And yeah, he's been back in action, back with 5-on-5 contact. And so I think they're latest reports I've seen, they're trying to see if he's going to be ready for their preseason opener on Saturday. So yeah, he's getting to it. I think it was a quote from Michael Porter Jr. Yesterday. They interviewed him, and he said, Drake is one of the most athletic players he's ever seen, and really like what he can bring as far as his offensive game, and of course his defensive game as well. So a lot of good things coming out about Drake Powell with the Brooklyn Nets, and we'll see. Like I said, this month he'll make his NBA debut. They'll be coming down to Charlotte to start the season on October 22nd, and I'll try my best to be in the building for that one. So we'll see.
All right, that's the rundown of that. But let's get into Asheebo, what stories you have in the paper today when people pick up the Chatham News and Record?
Yeah, so we have our fall sports roundup and, of course, our football preview for tomorrow night. We have the story from Jordan Matthews and American Leadership Academy Johnston from last Friday. We have a story on Northwood and C4 Soccer. Remember last week, the 0-0 tie, so you can read more about that game. And Natalie Becky, just more about her committing to ECU for women's lacrosse. So that's what we have in the paper this week. Also, too, Gene. Oh, well, Gene, you ready to do Athlete of the Week?
Yeah, we're ready to do Athlete of the Week. But before we do that, there was something you and I had talked about someone making the national team. Shoot, I thought I had written down that note. Which Chatham County? I'm like got scratches. Who did make the national team?
Yeah, so Callie O'Neill, as you guys know, we reported on her a lot during her journey with U.S. Soccer. She's a student at Seaford. She just was announced this week to have made the FIFA U17 Women's World Cup roster for Team USA. So she's going to be a defender once again. She's, like we said, she's just been working her way up as far as landing on rosters with Team USA. So she's going to be going to Morocco this month to compete with the under 17 team. And yeah, we'll keep up to see how she does with Team USA. Yeah, Gene, are you ready for Athlete of the Week?
I'm ready. I got the caption ready to go as soon as you announce who it is.
Yeah, so Athlete of the Week this week, we're going to C4 volleyball, giving it to Naomi Stevenson, the freshman. Talked about her earlier and her impact. And last week, in the Hawks lost to undefeated Cedar Ridge team, really good Cedar Ridge team in the conference. She led the team in kills with 15, and she recorded a season high 23 digs. So she did a lot in that one. And then she followed that with a team high 12 kills and a dominant straight set performance over Durham School of the Arts on September 25th. And like we said, she's made an immediate impact for this team. As of Sunday, I think she leads. As of Sunday when we wrote this, she had led this team in kills with 245 and 34 aces on the year. I know Ali Forbes predominantly is the serve specialist for this team, but with her being out, Naomi Stevenson has really held it down and kept the Hawks afloat here in conference play. So congrats to Naomi Stevenson. Of course, like I said, she's only a freshman, so she's got plenty of years to get even better than she is already now. And she'll definitely be a force to reckon with, more of a force to reckon with than she is already now in the coming years. So congrats to her and Seaford Volleyball for Athlete of the Week honors.
Yeah, congratulations to Naomi. And I know, Asheebo, you've talked to her several times after games, and it's nice to see a freshman doing well. There's some good leadership on that Seaforth game, and I think they're all meshing together well, making for a strong team overall. And I hope they have a good run when it comes to the state championships this year. All right, that kind of wraps up what's in the paper. You're going to the Seaford football game tomorrow. I'm going to the Northwood game tomorrow. It's the Hall of Fame game. Northwood's inducting 6 Hall of Famers. Got an article on there. Asheebo, you did an article on them earlier in the season in the Chatham News and Record. Is that correct?
Yeah, when it was announced, I think over the summer, we got the news of who it was. So we, of course, reported on who these people were, and just go down the list. They're going to induct Abdul Ghaffar, who was an 86 graduate, played cross country basketball and track, and then went on to play basketball at UNC Pembroke. Joaquin Green, football standout. He played 3 sports at Northwood, but of course he went on to play football at St. Augustine's University. And Brian Harrington, the former coach, who spent a few years coaching Northwood as a head coach, but spent a lot of time as a coordinator, with a defensive coordinator under Bill Hall. And then you have Wanda Jackson Bland, standout coach and athlete at Northwood. She played basketball, softball, and volleyball for the Chargers, was the female athlete of the year. And she's, of course, girls basketball coach at Horton Middle School, won plenty of championships there. So she'll get honored as well. Benji Johnson, baseball standout at Northwood, went to UNC and was drafted by the Atlanta Braves in 2007. So, and also Eric Williams as well, 2011 graduate who competed in cross country, and he got the state title in 2011 and went on to run at UNC Greensboro. So, yeah, those are the athletes that will be honored tomorrow night as homecoming, right, for Northwood tomorrow, Gene?
No, homecoming is next week when they're playing against JM. Tomorrow is what they're referring to the Hall of Fame, game, and Cameron Vernon is excited because you have the Charger hot dog that they're going to have at the concession stand, but they've got a special limited edition hot dog with barbecue from Allen and Sons and something else on it. So, Cameron, you got to be excited about the game, but Cameron Vernon is excited about what hot dogs they're serving up at the concession stand. So I'll be there. I may run over for the second half. Asheebo and I will be texting back and forth. Again, I'm going to put this up here because what you need to do is you need to follow Asheebo on Asheebo R38 on X. He does updates on that site, on his Asheebo R38, as well as doing post-game interviews. And hopefully tomorrow's game, Seaford comes out and is able to defeat Orange. All right, folks, that's all we got for this week. You need to all come back next Thursday at noontime. And anything else, Asheebo, before we say bye?
No, I think we covered everything.
All right. And once again, thanks to everybody who's been watching us. Feel free to share this information. Let's see if we can get close to 4,000 views again this week. Thank you so much for watching.